Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central, to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on reviewing the access to capital proposition. So why is that relevant? Well, we've talked about our primary campaign to go out to the marketplace is the free funding proposal. So if all's going well, I'm sharing my screen with you here. So each of you have a free replicated website, looks just like this. You have a link. And so in general, the way that we're going out to the marketplace is asking people if they want a free funding proposal. We can go out to groups like churches, chambers, and organizations through our affinity model, which isn't the topic today, or we can approach individuals. We're doing real close to 1,000 funding proposals per day now. I mean, the volume has really picked up, and thank you all for those of you that are contributing to those large numbers. So between 500 and 1,000 a day now. So this is great. This is working. If it's not working for you, we need to visit and problem solve. So the free funding proposal is the campaign. From that, what does the participant receive? They receive free funding offers, no hard inquiries, no impact of their credit. They can pick the offers they want and so forth. We've talked about that we're not going to be redundant on that. But what I can tell you is that most of those clients that ask for a free funding proposal do enroll in access to capital. So I want to talk about that program, make sure that we're all crystal clear what it does do, what it doesn't do. Now, do you need to market access to capital? I would argue, no, you don't. If you just create awareness of the free funding proposal, just imagine a little dotted line, dot, 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 that feeds into the access to capital. So we'll take care of taking your free funding proposal leads and converting them into access to capital. That will happen quite naturally, quite organically as we go through the process. So I'm not trying to get you to change your outbound communication or education or promotion to clients or prospects, but I do want you to understand the end result of what they're getting, because it's something that's good, it's something that's legal, it's something that's effective, it's something that we can all be proud of. So in summary, stick with what's working, promote the free funding proposal. Most of these folks will then enroll in access to capital. So let's now dig into what they're getting with access to capital. Now, would they need to fill out this form? Of course not, right? We're going to facilitate that. If you feed them in for a free funding proposal, we'll help them enroll in access to capital. So you don't have to worry about the form. You don't have to worry about driving people to this page. Again, the goal is to educate you to make sure you understand the value proposition that they're getting. So let's scroll on down. So in addition, not in lieu of, so it's not a bait and switch. So they're going to get the free funding offers that we talked about, right? Up here. They're going to get the funding offers. They can pick the ones they want. But after that, then what we want to do is help them get their business credible for a large capital raise. And in fact, we promise them, we guarantee them, it's in writing, that we'll work with them to help them raise at least 100,000. So that's bullet number one. There is no maximum. Sometimes I'll talk to our distribution partners and they'll butcher this. They'll say, oh, we're helping a client get up to 100,000. That's not correct. That's not what I said. That's not what the website says. When we applied for the grant, we received the grant. Our commitment, contractual commitment, moral commitment, ethical commitment is to work with that client to raise at least 100,000. Now, if they want more or a lot more, that's fine. We'll work with them to get as much as they want, they need, and they qualify for. But we're going to work with them at least to get at least 100,000. They're promising, if they enroll in access to capital, to work with us to raise at least 100,000. Well, that's an important proposition, because you're paid 3 points of the capital raise. So that's why you can be assured that you should be getting $3,000 for every person you refer in, because we're promising and they're promising to get at least 100,000, and 3% of 100,000 is 3,000. So hopefully that makes the math more obvious too. Many of you are state directors. If you're a state director, then you're getting an override, 1%. So if your small business consultants under you as a state director drive in someone, client gets 100,000, small business consultant gets 3,000, you get $1,000 override. You might say, well, $1,000 doesn't sound like much, but you're not working with the client. You're not generating the client. You're just managing the team of consultants. So obviously you'll probably want to make more than $1,000 a month. So you might want to have a few consultants that are out producing a few clients. And then all of a sudden that number really grows. Our small business consultants should be helping at least 8 clients a month. That's the design. Well, if you're a state director and you're making 1,000 times 8, well, now that's 8,000 override per consultant. You might say, well, that's not enough. Well, then have more consultants on your team. It's not taking money away from them, not taking money away from the client. All right. So additionally, once the client has come through the free funding proposal, we send them the Adobe, they complete the Adobe, we get them free funding offers, and then we pivot into the access to capital, which we're talking about now. The access to capital has no upfront cost. It's funny, sometimes I'll have clients try to say, oh no, there's an upfront cost. There is not. There's no upfront cost for access to capital. Now, is it a free program? Is it free? It's not free. The funding proposal is free, getting them free funding offers, but is access to capital free? No, and we don't say it's free. And it doesn't need to be free because they're paying after they get funding. They pay a performance fee after they get funding. They pay a 10% performance fee after they get funded. That's how we afford to pay you, the consultants, 3%. That's how we afford to pay you, the state directors, the 1-point override. Is there any other cost to clients to be in access to capital? Yes, there's a refundable deposit. Uh-oh, is it upfront? No, there's no upfront cost. Well, when do they pay the refundable deposit? After their first tranche, their first round of capital. Oh, after they get 100,000, they pay the deposit? No, that's when they get the deposit back. It's after their first tranche, after the first round. So they'll get that first round. So every client, when they go through the funding proposal, every client will get at least one offer, at least a cash offer now of at least 2,500. A lot of people will get a lot more. We've given you success stories. Some people are getting 10,000. Some people are getting 100,000. We had a gentleman recently got 400,000. So with the funding proposal, they're getting cash funding offers. Everyone will get at least one cash funding offer. So everyone will get at least enough to cover that refundable deposit. Well, why would there be a refundable deposit? Because we need to build a loan package. Well, why do we need a loan package? Because we need to have, as demonstrated down here in the bottom circle, we need to have the documentation that's needed. Oh, that wasn't a good idea. We need the documentation that's needed for a loan approval. Well, what's in a loan package, you might ask? Well, those are the documents that lenders would expect to see if we're trying to go get a business loan. Sometimes you'll work with individuals that are not as financially illiterate, and they're like, well, I don't want a loan package. Well, if you don't have the packaging to get approved for a business loan, then we better be focusing on personal loans, right? Because business loans, especially larger business loans, there's expectations that business lenders are going to have, like, well, where's your business plan? Where's your balance sheet? Where's your income statement? Those are the things that we help with. So there's no upfront cost for access to capital. Everyone will get at least one funding offer. Many people get multiple. The funding offers will be at least enough to cover the refundable deposit. The refundable deposit is returned to them after we complete a minimum of $100,000 capital raise, our promise to them, their promise to us to participate. The loan package is important to have the documentation to get qualified for a business loan. Make sense? Now, in addition to that, as they go through access to capital, we are also going to help them improve their financial literacy. And I know, most people could give a hoot about financial literacy, but I promise you, the more educated that a client is, the more likely they are to be successful and, frankly, higher satisfaction. So we build in an award-winning curriculum to the implementation. Are the clients required to go through it? They're not. They're not. Are they encouraged to? They are. Let me give you an example. I had a client yesterday and we were working on our loan package, and she had been onboarded properly, but rather it was consciously or unconsciously, she didn't engage in any of the financial literacy. So she lacked knowledge, familiarity, understanding of what we were doing as we're building the loan package. So for example, we were talking about her balance sheet. She had no earthly clue what a balance sheet is, what's on it, or why it's important. So I'm not harping on her, but you and I both know that's part of the curriculum that we have under financial reporting module 3. We were talking about Dun & Bradstreet having a reputable paydex score. She had no idea what that meant. So here's a client that enrolled. She either consciously or unconsciously decided, I'm not going to do any of this financial literacy stuff. I don't need that. And in fact, you can tell she did, because now we're working on her loan package and it's like we're talking Greek. She's like, I don't know what that means. So we referred her back. So with access to capital, so again, in summary, you want to continue, we recommend continuing to focus people into the free funding proposal campaign. We'll help pivot them into the access to capital. And what we're talking about today is the value proposition that they get. So we're going to help them build their loan package. We're going to help improve their financial literacy if they want. And if they don't want to, that's their choice. And then we're going to assess and help them build their 3 C's. Well, what are the 3 C's? The business's credit, well, I guess both business and personal credit, but mainly the business credit, their capacity, in other words, the documented ability to pay back the loan that they want, and collateral. What you don't want to fall into the trap of is a client saying, well, I don't have anything, this isn't going to work for me. It's the opposite of that. That's exactly why they should enroll, because they're not prepared for a capital raise, and that's exactly what you and I do. It's called technical advising in the lending world. So we're literally helping them become qualified for at least a $100,000 loan. I was talking to a different prospect yesterday who signed up. And at first he was, at the beginning of the call, he was skeptical. It's like, this just sounds too good to be true, was essentially his response. It's because he didn't understand, as I described. Here's what we're going to do. His name's Mr. Fuller. So Mr. Fuller, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you your initial funding offers to see what you qualify for now. And then he started asking a million questions. Well, how much do I qualify for now? I don't know. We need to get the app filled out and get it into our consortium of lenders. There's no hard inquiries. You can accept the offers you want, decline the ones you don't. A lot of people get a lot of offers. You'll get at least one cash offer. So from there, then we're going to get you into access to capital and build out so your business is credible enough for a big capital raise, right? So it's not like magic that you squat down, clench your fist and say, okay, now I'm qualified for 100,000. Well, you might be, but what we do is we gather the data, look at the client's current circumstances, create a funding plan and address. So we'll help them improve their financial literacy. We'll help build a loan package. Anything that's missing, we'll supplement. We help them build their 3 C's. And then he's like, oh, well, that makes sense. And he immediately signed up. So from your perspective as a small business consultant, you can keep it real simple. We've simplified the model whereby it's easy. You don't have to go through this dialogue and understand all this. If you just simply ask people, do you want a free funding proposal, get their name, email, and phone, submit them in, we'll take care of the rest. It makes it easy for you. My goal today is to let you know what happens behind the scenes. So yes, they'll get their free funding proposal and they'll get whatever funding offers they qualify for now. But above and beyond that, we don't want to stop at that. We want to move them from where they are to where they need to be to qualify for a large capital raise. And this pictorial, although it's not an A+ graphic, in fact, describes it. And that's why we also have a training video. So in summary, do you need to bring your prospects to this page? No, you probably don't. Probably the less you say, the higher close rate you'll have. You need to get people over here to the free funding proposal ask them if they want a free funding proposal. If they do, get their name, email, phone, get it submitted in here. Let them know that they're going to get an application. It's a simple one-page application via Adobe. They receive that, they complete that, and then we get them funding offers. So let's open it up for questions, concerns, dialogue. Are you all clear on how you want to lead with the free funding proposal? Why that is easy, it's simple, it's free. And then secondly, do you understand what happens then thereafter? We'll get them their initial funding offers, get them whatever funding they qualify for. Everyone will get at least $2,500. But then what we're going to do is move them into access to capital to help them become qualified enough on paper for a large capital raise. So, questions, comments, concerns. This is important that it's clear to you, that it makes sense. You understand the why, you understand the what. You believe it's real, you believe it's credible, because of course it is. But if you don't understand something, this is where you would want to ask. So you can go ahead and type it into the Q&A. All right, as usual, Timothy has the first question. So he's asking about time frame, and that's a good point. So from the time that you submit in the free funding proposal by getting us their name, email, and phone, our goal is within 24 hours to get them the Adobe that we made reference to here. And so they'll fill that out. And then once they fill that out, then we'll be able to get them their funding offers. And so that's usually 24 hours thereafter. So within 48 hours, in other words, hopefully much less, from the time that you submit them here, they should be sitting on offers. But step one, you submit them, or they submit on your website. Step two, we send and they complete the Adobe app, which results in the funding offers, right? So there's two prerequisite steps. They need to be fed into the system, and then they need to complete the one-page Adobe offer. So that's the first part of Timothy's answer. Upfront time frame. Then, as we proceed with the access to capital, how long is it, and I think that's really Timothy's question, how long is it going to take them to get $100,000? Well, we don't know, because the answer is going to be different based upon their circumstances. What will happen is we'll send them, and once they're implemented, we're going to, or during the implementation stage, I should say, we're going to send them an Adobe that's called Building Your Loan Package, and it's 2 pages long. We've discussed it before. I don't have it pulled up here, but we've discussed it before. The first page of that has the list of the documents that we're asking for. If they have it, they're going to upload it into a Dropbox folder we provide. If they don't have it, they skip it. And that's necessary for us to assess what we have and what we need to create for the loan package. The second page of that Building Your Loan Package Adobe that we send during the implementation phase plugs them immediately into the financial literacy. So then we gather the data. So Timothy's question was simpler. How long does it take? Well, hopefully they'll provide us the data set very quickly. But now you can realize we're waiting on them, because we're fools, we're ignorant, we're dumb. We don't know anything about their business. They know everything and we know nothing. Well, how do we have an information transfer? It's by us requesting the documents on the list. There's 13 items. They provide what they have. Of course, they don't provide what they don't have, which is fine. And then we're able to create a funding plan. So to Timothy's question, as long as they provide the documents requested that they do have in short order, then normally we can get a loan package built out in 30 days or less. So I think that's the simple answer Timothy was looking for. Normally, we can build the loan package out in 30 days or less. But the timing could be quicker or it could be slower, because obviously it's impacted by the client's participation. But if you had a gun to your head and you had to answer how long does it take, I'd say, well, we'll get your free funding offers within a day or two, and then we can build out your loan package so you'd qualify for at least 100,000, normally in 30 days or less. So that's general terms based upon what I discussed. Okay, so Daphne asks, so once they fill out their application, well, let me read this. Good morning, Thomas. So once they fill out the application, our communication with the client, we're done. Okay, so what I think she's asking is when does her responsibility stop? Well, what's crucial is that, of course, you feed in prospects, because no prospects, we're not helping anyone, we're not making any money, so that'd be bad. And then making sure that they complete the one-page application. So in most cases, you'll be copied on this application, this Adobe that goes out to them after you've submitted them in. So you'll know that it was gone to them. And then once they've completed it, you'll be copied on it. So you'll know that they've completed it. That's what's crucial from your perspective. After that, you're right. You, as a small business consultant, you're really not responsible for any of the implementation, any of the communication, any of the customer service. But the key is feeding people into the flow. That's what small business consultants do, whether it be individually or through churches, chambers, the affinity model, however you want to do it, social media, whatever, yelling from a rooftop, generating awareness of the free funding proposal, feeding them in, and encouraging them to complete the one-page Adobe app. That's the normal endpoint. We used to have a more complicated model where our distribution partners were involved with a lot of other tasks and activities, and that didn't always go so well. So now it's super simple, super simple. Now, frankly, and I'm not talking about Daphne now, but if you're not good at generating awareness to drive in participants, then that's a problem that needs to be fixed, right? Because that's your role. You could get referral partners that feed into you. You could buy leads. You could advertise. There's lots of different ways to address lead generation, but that's what's mission critical for your role as a small business consultant, is feeding people in and then them completing the Adobe application. That's what's triggering your payout. That's what's triggering our ability to help the clients. All right, so my goal is to try to wrap up a little bit early today because I have an 8:30 appointment. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? Let me summarize. So we're not changing anything. We still recommend lead with a free funding proposal. Oh my goodness, it's working. We're pushing close to 1,000 funding proposals a day. It's great. It's wonderful. We're ramping up to handle it, so don't worry about that. Thereafter, once they get their first round of funding, then what we're going to do, not your burden, what we're going to do is work with them through the Access to Capital program, which is described on your homepage. Do you need to go describe all this? No. But should you know? Yeah, because this is what makes it real. How do we guarantee people 100,000? It's by building their literacy, building their loan package, and helping them become credible enough on paper. That's why it's real. That's why it works. All right, well, thanks, everyone. I think we covered the questions. We will see you back tomorrow morning. Let us know if you have any questions between now and then, and have a great day. See you soon. Bye.